¿Me pueden contar de su vida en Guatemala y por qué emigraron a Estados Unidos?
Soy la mayor de 7 hermanos y por eso fue la decisión de emigrar a los Estados Unidos para un mejor mañana.
Soy el mayor de 7 hermanos y siempre quise el sueño americano.
So now I'm going to share a little bit of how I prepared to go to college. I was trying to figure out the college process alone. My parents are both immigrants from Guatemala, and so by the age of, I think 13, I was on my own. I had to figure out how to, get ready and prepare to apply to college. And that was a task in itself. It was challenging. A lot of questions being asked to everybody in my realm at school. So counselors, teachers, especially my avid teachers, who really helped and pushed me to, pursue a college education and also just knowing exactly how to apply. Like, I didn't know about ACTs, I didn't know about SATs. I just knew, you're going to fill out an application and hopefully they let you in. And in addition to that, I was the first in my family to go to college, so I couldn't ask like an older cousin. I'm the oldest of 3 sisters in my family, so I was on my own. But that didn't really stop me. If anything, it fueled me to keep going, just like my parents mentioned that, they came to the United States for a better future, for a better tomorrow. And them being the oldest also of their families, it pushed them to, keep going and move forward. So, ¿cómo se sintieron ustedes cuando yo quise una educación universitaria?
Felices, porque mi hija iba a cumplir uno de sus mejores deseos y para ella y para todos nuestros hijos iban a tener un futuro mejor.
Nos sentimos muy felices porque sabíamos que nuestra hija iba a ser alguien muy exitosa con un futuro muy grande. Hija, ¿qué significó para ti la universidad?
So, yendo a la universidad, so me going to the university, it meant to me the world because I was accomplishing a dream that I had set for myself as a young child. I always wanted to pursue a college education. I always wanted to, make my dream come true of being an engineer. And so, just starting that first step into, what could possibly be my full-time career was just, I was proud of myself. I was also nervous and scared because I was going to leave home. But my parents always ingrained in me that a college education was the ticket to success here in America. So they wanted me to have a career and to be a role model for my sisters, not only just, think of myself, but I was also focusing on my family too, focusing on them and focusing on how I can, be an example to my sisters. And my parents, throughout my college education, were very supportive. They, they couldn't read my essays or help me on my math homework or any of that, but they definitely supported me through moral encouragement, even finances. If I needed anything, they were always trying to help, or even cooking me something. I'd come home and my mom would have a little lunch pail ready for me to take back to San Diego. So little things like that went a long way, especially when, college is challenging. And so you need that support system to back at home to help you, push through all the endeavors you're going to face in college.
Hija, cuando estabas eligiendo una universidad, ¿qué estabas buscando?
So when I was choosing a university, I was focusing. One of my main things that I was looking at was making sure that I wasn't gonna accumulate a big amount of debt. I'm the first of 3 girls that will attend college in my family, so I didn't want to, have a bunch of debt where it was my younger sisters weren't going to be able to go to college. So I made sure to find scholarships to, make sure the universities that accepted me were offering me a good financial aid package. And, I just wanted to make sure that everyone was going to be okay, even if I was pursuing something that, was going to be possibly costly. And I also wanted to make sure that the program, the school that I was choosing was going to have a good program related to STEM, because that was the field that I was choosing. I was going to choose an engineering school. I was going to choose a very STEM-focused university so I can focus on my career afterwards. I can be able to, learn from faculty, to also do research, and then have companies, be surprised, like, oh, wow, you're from UC San Diego. Wow, they have a good engineering school. Have you met this professor? Or, just the name resonates also a lot by itself, too. And funny thing is, I did want to be close enough to home, but far away enough so I can grow by myself. Being at home my first 18 years of like my life, you get very comfortable. You're in your comfort zone. So I needed to get out in order to grow on my own, but make sure I'm able to come back home in case, I don't know, I needed anything, or my car broke down and my dad needed to fix it, or I needed food. So close enough to home, but far enough for me to be able to grow on my own. I think when I first arrived at UC San Diego, it was there was like a shock in me because, everyone who attends a university is, the cream of the crop of their high school. And me graduating from high school, I was like the 1% top of the class. And so it's like, you were in that realm. You knew kind of where you stood. And I was humbled to going to UCSD because it's like, you're not the only one anymore. Everyone is the cream of the crop. And not only that, but also the faculty that were there, you're just amazed, like all the research they've done, like how accomplished they are. And it's almost inspiring, right? You want to become them, you want to be them. But I was, in addition to, I was also being exposed to different cultures. So I've always been used to, our Guatemalan culture or just a Latin American culture, and me being American. But now I'm getting exposed to different individuals from different cultures, like Indian or Chinese, like different cultures that, we're learning different things. We're trying each other's foods. We're talking about what our parents do, and there's similarities to different languages, and we're learning from each other and really creating that global aspect of now that, all the students call UC San Diego home. And navigating through college, I remember feeling like, especially my first year, feeling almost unprepared. So because we weren't taught anything related to, how to do college in high school. You're taught basically like, this is how you study, this is how you take an exam in high school, and, here are your grades. You're going to get a GPA at the end of the year, and, that's going to be what you're going to be using to apply to college.
¿Cómo te sientes estando fuera de casa, hija?
So I was away from home. I think it was challenging because I was always like a family person, always hanging out with my parents or my sisters. But I think I needed it in order to grow. Like I mentioned earlier, being in the same comfort zone, like in the same bubble, you can't grow if you're constantly in it. You need to put yourself in situations where you're going to be forced to grow. And I think that's how I felt when I was away from home. But I think I always tried to tell myself or keep reminding myself that it was for something good. I was sacrificing, family time, sacrificing, seeing my grandparents so often that, it was going to be worth it in the end. No one had ever done it in my family. So I needed to, do it and be successful to, prove that like, hey, going away from home was okay. Like, I'm not doing anything bad. I'm growing. I'm becoming a professional. And it was sad sometimes. I think at the end of the day, I knew that I was going to be worth it in the long run. So, ¿cómo se sintieron ustedes estando yo fuera de la casa?
Muy triste, contento también a la vez, ¿verdad? Porque ibas a prepararte, ¿verdad? A tu futuro, y preocupada también por tu comida, cómo ibas a hacerle ahora, a su adaptación también, ¿verdad? Porque va a ser una nueva ciudad, San Diego y Bloomington, es diferente, y también a la adaptación de nuevos, diferentes estudiantes de diferentes estados, países, todo eso incluye la preocupación, pero confiaba en Dios que todo iba a estar bien y en ti, de que ibas a salir adelante.
Como lo mismo, por siempre estar fuera de la casa, una preocupación que todo padre creo que tenemos, pero siempre confiando en que todo iba a estar bien y todo lo que necesitara ella siempre lo tenía con nosotros.
Hija, ¿qué aspectos de la universidad tú crees que te ayudaron a tener éxito?
I was part of an organization called SHIP, so Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers. They were a group of individuals who were basically people of the same background, who were also studying engineering, something STEM related, that wanted to pursue a career as an engineer. So I resonated a lot with those individuals because we all had the same dream and came from a very similar background. Their parents were also immigrants, or they were from Latin America. And it was just, it was my home away from home. We were all cooked the same things. We all listened to the same music. It was just, like I mentioned earlier, it was my home away from home. And it made me feel like I wasn't alone. And I was with people that I was comfortable with. We shared similar interests and just made it easier to talk about things and to help one another. And in addition to, SHIP, I was also part of a program in Oasis called To Excel, and Oasis tutoring also. I think Oasis tutoring played a big part because as a first-generation college student, I mentioned this earlier, where I felt underprepared going into college. I needed that extra help. I was there in every office hours, learning and engaging with my professors and my TAs, like making sure I understood the material. But sometimes that wasn't enough. So I had to, find another resources that wasn't going to charge me. And I say that very specifically, like the charging part, like the financial part, because, there were some students who had their own private tutors, but I knew I couldn't afford a private tutor. So I needed to find a way that I was going to get tutoring for free. And Oasis did that for me. They provided tutoring for me where I can go in and, get my questions answered, listen to a lesson in case I wanted it redone again, and get that extra help that I needed. And there was another program called CAMP that allowed me to do my first research experience at UCSD. And they focused on helping minorities specifically pursue research at UCSD or any UC college. It could branch out. I think every UC has that program. And it really just gives them the opportunity, to gain skill sets, gain that research experience, and, fill up their resume that you're going to need when you start applying to jobs or applying to internships. And lastly, the Rasa Center really became another home away from home. Everybody that was there was, always studying, but always taking a break too. And if you ever walked into the Rasa Center, it's like you see all the colors, you see all the flags, and that's actually the first time where I resonated a lot from home because I saw the Guatemalan flag hung there. And everywhere around campus, you don't really see, flags being put from a different, country on campus. And so seeing that there was just reminded me of my parents, reminded me of my family, and I was like, okay, this is a safe space. This is a space where I can be comfortable, where I can, talk to people, and the employees that worked there were always so nice and so kind. They always had bread, or sometimes they had extra food, and it was free to the students. And when you mention free food to any college student, they're going to run into that room and take everything. So if it wasn't pizza, it was leftover rice and beans or tacos, or just like I mentioned, coffee and bread, and that any college student would take it. But specifically from the Rasa Center, Dr. Gerardo, he was a great instrument in helping me apply to graduate school. So being with him and being able to talk to him about my experience at UCSD and him encouraging me to apply to grad school definitely was life-changing. So I think those are the main aspects I think that helped me, find success at UCSD. So my plan after leaving UCSD, it varied a lot from the summer of 2018 going into June 2019 when I had walked the stage and become an alumni from UCSD. If you asked me in summer of 2018 if I thought I'd be where I'm at now, I would tell you no. I had a different mindset. I was going to go work at a company and be a full-time engineer right out of college. And I would say right out of college, right out of UCSD. Just with my bachelor's, and that was going to be it. And I remember having a conversation with Gerardo, actually, in spring 2018, and he encouraged me. He was like, you have all the qualifications to go to grad school. Have you thought about it? And me being, a little naive at the time about grad school, because I didn't know a lot of people that went to grad school. I just knew my professors and a couple TAs, and that was really it. I didn't know too many people. So I was like, I don't even know how to apply to grad school. I don't know what I need. Am I even prepared for it? Like, you're saying I have qualifications, but what does that actually mean? And so we went through the whole process of figuring out what I needed to do in order to apply. Summer 2018, I, was juggling my internship, but also thinking about what I could do if I really wanted to apply. Like, what was it going to actually take? Because it isn't just an application again, how I thought undergrad was going to be. Like, you have to go through the GRE this time. You have to go through letters of recommendation. You have to go through, different personal statements. And then you have to go to a statement of purpose. So there's multiple different levels of going through a graduate school application compared to undergrad. In undergrad, I feel like I was a little more prepared because I had been preparing since middle school with AVID. But in college, it was like, I did it all within a semester with Gerardo. It was more like, okay, I want to do this. How do I get this done? Like, I know I'm basically putting the gear on drive and we're skirting out of here, but how do I make this happen? How do I, make sure I get into grad school? And then how do I make sure I'm not in debt with graduate school? And so those are the biggest questions I had. And luckily, I got accepted into multiple schools, and I had the option to choose where I wanted to go, and that ended up becoming Carnegie Mellon University. Carnegie Mellon University is a prestigious university, private and well-known engineering schools. Their faculty take pride in their work, and it's honestly a privilege to be a part of. The program I'm pursuing at Carnegie Mellon University is Engineering Technology Innovation Management. And what that program is, it bridges together the engineering side of the school and the business side. And so it basically creates the next program managers, the next directors, basically engineering tech leaders. And so that's exactly what I want it to become. I am very technical, but I'm also very business-like. I want to be able to be in those meetings where decisions are being made. And I couldn't think of a better program to help me prepare for that in my future. So when I actually was applying to grad school, I remember not telling my parents exactly where I was applying. I just remember telling them, I'm going to go to grad school. It's an additional year, 2 years after, my bachelor's degree. And this is what I'm thinking of studying. I kind of just was very vague, didn't really go into details. Because I knew at this point it was more like I'm focusing on my work. I already pursued, my engineering degree, my STEM degree, and I wanted more of a focus, right? And so I didn't really tell them much, actually, when I was applying. I just told them I'm applying, and I'll let you guys know once the acceptances come in where I got in and where my decision is going to be made. And I think at the time I was just also being a little bit I was nervous about what was going to happen. I wasn't sure I was going to get in, so I didn't want to give them any false hopes of I'm going to go 20 minutes from home, or I'm going to be I don't know, somewhere across the country or, in a different country. And so I just kind of kept it private to myself because I knew they were going to support me regardless. And this was a decision I felt like I needed to do on my own. And so when I finally did get accepted, though, I think I told them of the multiple schools that I got in, and most of them were actually out of state. And so that was my biggest concerned when telling them because I had gone to an internship out of state for 3 months, but I hadn't left home and been completely away from home. That was like not a 2-hour drive. It was going to be 36 hours driving if they wanted to come find me driving. And so, unos últimos pensamientos para futuros padres de futuros estudiantes de la Universidad de San Diego.
Yo les diría a padres que apoyen a sus hijos si ellos deciden ir a UCSD. Es una universidad de alto nivel, de mucha reputación, donde mi hija se graduó estuvo 5 años y encontró todo lo que ella necesitaba para terminar su bachelor. Y confiando siempre en ellos y dándoles mucho apoyo moral y económico. Ellos van a estar bien.
Como dice mi esposa, primero darles el apoyo que siempre lo necesitan en todo momento y ayudarlos económicamente y no se diga moralmente para que ellos sigan triunfando siempre día con día y máximo en una universidad como la que se graduó nuestra hija. Es una excelente universidad con un gran prestigio que confiábamos nosotros siempre en esta universidad y así fue, siempre.
My last thoughts on just any advice to future students at UC San Diego would be, don't be afraid to ask questions and don't be afraid to, participate in everything in regards to like what you think will help you in your future. No one's going to come knocking on your dorm your first year or, if you're a transfer student, your third year. No one's going to come knocking on your door telling you, this is what you need to do in order to become an engineer. This is what you need to do in order to become a doctor. You're going to need to find those resources. And you're going to need to ask questions. Ask questions to your professors. Ask questions to faculty members. Ask questions in different, organizations like at the Raza Center or an Idea Center. And ask them, how do I, what's the track for this? How can you help me get there? Because that's what the institution is there for. They're there to help you and help to groom you into what you want to become. And so make the best out of those years. I was just talking to one of my friends the other day about, our time at UCSD, and it's some of the best years of your life. It will be challenging, it'll be hard, but at the end of the day, it's going to be worth it. So there'll be a few bumps on the road, so don't be afraid. Go to office hours, get your questions answered, form those study groups, and ultimately have fun, learn, and enjoy the ride because it goes by really, really fast.